Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our October 19th, 2021 Board of Commissioners meeting. Our first order of business is please stand and join me for the pledge to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Bob, agenda review.
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda today.
Move the agenda.
Second.
I got a motion and a second for the agenda. Is any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the motion carries. The next item on our agenda is the planning and zoning items. Planning and zoning staff are here to present the action items. This is a public hearing for public comment. Will be allowed in just a moment. I'd ask the planning and zoning staff to join us and introduce themselves for the record before they give their reports. Good morning.
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 You're ready whenever you are, George.
Hi, good morning, guys. My name is Garrett Rolfing with Blue Earth County Planning and Zoning. PC 30-21 is a request from Corey Hoppy for review and approval of a conditional use permit to construct and operate a 122 by 228 total confinement swine finishing barn. The barn will have a capacity of 3,330 head of finishing swine weighing between 55 and 300 pounds for a total of 999 animal units. The proposed barn will have an 8-foot deep concrete below barn manure storage pit with 12 months of storage. The total number of animal units after construction will be 999. The property is zoned agricultural and is located in the northwest quarter of Section 25, Decoria Township, Blue Earth County, Minnesota. Staff presented the report. The applicant was present. He stated he had worked very hard to put up his original feedlot site. He added that it has been good for his livelihood and that his children have taken an active role in operating the facility. He stated that the original site is well kept and that the proposed facility will be identical. There was no public comment. The chair asked the Planning Commission for comments. Members indicated no concerns with the proposal. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation for approval of the request to the County Board based on the findings and conditions prepared by staff, and the board action is the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett. At this time, this is a public hearing. I will open it up for public comment. Anyone wishing to comment, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Please keep your comments to about 3 minutes. If you're calling in, unmute your phone on *6, and we will hear your testimony. Anyone wishing to comment on PC 30-21 for Corey Hoppy? Last time for anyone wishing to comment on PC 30-21. Seeing no public comment, I'll bring it back to the County Board.
Move to approve.
Second.
I got a motion and a second for the Corey Hoppy hog operation. Any discussion, questions, or comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
I'm George Leary with Blue Earth County Planning and Zoning. PC 31-21 is a request from Samuel Bernicke for review and approval of an interim use permit for the excavation of a pond and placement of more than 500 cubic yards of fill. The site is zoned agricultural and is in the Shoreland Overlay District of Madison Lake. The site is located in the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter of Section 1, Leray Township. Staff presented the report. The applicant was present and had no additional comment. There was no other public comment. The chair asked the Planning Commission for comments. The applicant was asked if there's enough change in elevation on the site to direct the water to the culvert. The applicant was indicated it is unlikely. Members indicated no other questions or concerns with the proposal. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation for approval of the request to the County Board based on the findings and conditions prepared by staff and without requiring the flow to the culvert. And Commissioners, just a little more on that matter is the comments from the Public Works Director had suggested that the applicant direct the flow of the site to a culvert on the property. And the applicant was asked by the Planning Commission at the meeting if there was enough fall on the site to accomplish that, and he doubted that there was. And for that reason, the Planning Commission suggested to leave that or not include that as a condition.
Sure.
and the board action is a resolution.
All right, thank you, George. At this time, I will open it up for public comment for PC 3121 for Bernicke. Anyone wishing to comment, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. If you're calling in, please unmute your phone with *6 and we'll hear your testimony. Anyone wishing to comment on PC 3121 for Samuel Bernicke? And last time, anyone wishing to comment on PC 3121? Seeing no public comment, I'll close the public portion of the hearing and bring it back to the county board for action.
I'll move approval. Landcamer.
First, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries for Samuel Bernicke.
Hi, I'm Megan Bajula Hagan with Property Environmental Resources. Next item is PC 32-21 for Robert and Sarah McGregor and Bruce McGregor. Request for review and approval of an interim use permit for an elder care dwelling. The property is zoned conservation and is the southwest quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 27, Mapleton Township. The site address is 10890 588th Avenue, Mapleton, Minnesota. Staff presented the report. The applicant was present and had no additional comments. There was no other public comment, and the chair asked the Planning Commission for comments. Members indicated no concerns with the proposal. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation for approval of the request to the County Board based on the findings and conditions prepared by staff. And the board action is a resolution.
Thank you, Megan. Anyone wishing to comment on PC 3221, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Please keep your comments to about 3 minutes. If you are calling in, please unmute your phone with *6 and we'll hear your testimony. Anyone wishing to comment on PC 3221? And last call for anyone wishing to comment on PC 3221 for Robert and Sarah McGregor and Bruce McGregor. Seeing no public comment, I'll bring it back to the county board for action.
I'll move approval. Landcamer.
Second.
I got a first and a second. Is there any discussion?
Just a comment. I think this is really a good thing, and I'm glad we can do this. I know there's been some challenges at times, but I think this makes a difference in people's lives, so it's a good thing.
Yep, I agree.
Do we know if they're pulling in like a trailer house or into the property, or what are they planning?
So it's a shed that with living quarters in it.
Okay.
And the living quarters area will not exceed what's allowed by the ordinance. And then when the use discontinues, the living quarters will be removed from that facility. And so there was also a variance that was required for this to allow it to be in the front yard. And that was approved by the Board of Adjustment, and then they moved forward with the interim use permit. So there are two components of this. So it will be a shed that's in front of the house. There's a concrete pad there already, and it's a logical location for the future exclusive use of it as a shed. And so, yeah, it just, when the passerby will just say, well, yeah, they put up a nice storage building there.
I also agree with Commissioner Landcamer, that this is a great use of this. Growing up on a farm in northern Minnesota, we did this for my grandparents, and we actually brought a trailer house into that was next to our farm, our house on the farm, and they lived there until they passed away. And it's a great use, and I really commend the other commissioners for being able to allow this to happen.
Any other discussion? We got a motion and a second for PC 3221. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
My name is Megan Bajula Hagan with Property Environmental Resources. Next item is PC 33-21. Shannon and Katie Cohane. Request for review and approval of an interim use permit for a bluff stabilization reconstruction project. The property is zoned conservation and is in the Shoreland Overlay District of Madison Lake. The site location is Lot 3, Block 2 of the Lakeville Hills subdivision. The site address is 22374 Lakeview Hills Road. Staff presented the report. The applicant was present and had no additional comment. There was no other public comment. The chair asked the Planning Commission for comments. Members indicated no concerns with the proposal. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation for approval of the request to the County Board based on the findings and conditions prepared by staff, and the board action is the resolution.
Okay, thank you, Megan. Anyone wishing to comment on PC 3321? Shannon and Katie Cohane, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Please keep your comments to approximately 3 minutes. If you're calling in online, please unmute your phone and we'll hear your testimony. Anyone wishing to comment on PC 3321? Last time for anyone wishing to comment on PC 3321. Hearing no public comment, I will close the public comment portion of the meeting and bring it back to the county board for action.
Move to approve. Second.
I got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Just yet another comment. I think if you read the paper this morning, they're talking about all the erosion, and this is going to stop that, hopefully. So I think it's a good project.
Yeah, these landowners put a lot of money into these projects
You do?
to save their land. So. All right, I got a motion and a second for PC 3321. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
My name is Garrett Alfing with Blue Earth County Property and Environmental Resources. PC 34-21 is a request from Dilmer and Betty Goebel and CEF Mankato Community Solar LLC for review and approval of an interim use permit for a large solar energy system that has a capacity of 1 megawatt. The project is located in the northwest quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 21, South Bend Township, and the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 16, South Bend Township. Staff presented the report. A representative of the solar company addressed the Planning Commission. She stated the solar garden will connect with Northern States Power Company and the energy output should support 250 average size homes. She added that the location of the project should have minimal visual impact. There was no other public comment. The chair asked the Planning Commission for comments. Members indicated no concerns with the proposal. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation for approval of the request to the County Board based on the findings and conditions prepared by staff. The board action is the resolution.
Thank you, Garrett. At this time, I will open up public comment for PC 3421 for Dilmer and Betty Goebel and CEF Mankato Community Solar Farms LLC. Anyone wishing to comment, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Please keep your comments to about 3 minutes. And if you're calling in online, please unmute your phone with *6 and we'll hear your testimony. And I do see that there was a representative from the solar company, I think. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kate Morgan, and I'm representing CEF Mankato Community Solar LLC. As an applicant, I just wanted to make myself available for any questions, but have no further comment to add what I have already presented to the Planning Commission. And lastly, I just want to thank you all for your time and consideration today.
Thank you, Kate. Could I just have your address for the record?
Of course, my business address is 2003 Western Avenue, Suite 225, Seattle, Washington, 98121.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to comment on PC 3421? Last time for anyone wishing to comment on PC 3421 for Dilmer and Betty Goebel and CEF Mankato Community Solar LLC. Hearing no public comment, I'll close the public comment portion of the meeting and bring it back to County Board for action.
Move to approve.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Colleen,
I
you
like
gotta have-
solar.
you gotta have a
solar.
comment.
We could put one in your backyard.
Another one that fit real well into the area that it's going. So
What is the difference between, I see this is considered a large solar energy system, so what's the cutoff with, and this is 1 megawatt, what's the cutoff there?
That is a cutoff, 1 megawatt.
Okay, so
Yes.
it gets up to 1 megawatt, it's considered a large.
Less than 1 megawatt would be a small solar energy
Right,
system.
that's what I meant.
over
Yeah.
everything over one.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. That's all.
All right. I have a motion and a second for PC 3421. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
I'm George Leary with Blue Earth County Property and Environmental Resources. PC 35-21 is a request from Gary Fitzsimmons, Kevin Fitzsimmons, David Fitzsimmons, and MFS Recycling LLC for review and approval of a conditional use permit to operate a source-separated organic material compost facility. Activities include composting source-separated organic material and mixing the finished compost with composted dairy manure, gypsum, and calcite to create a final product for land application. The applicants propose to accept recycling materials as an accessory use. The property is zoned agricultural and is in the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter of Section 1, Lyra Township, and the site address is 16225 563rd Avenue, Good Thunder. Staff presented the report. The applicants were present and had no initial comment. One individual addressed the Planning Commission with the following comments and concerns. They are as follows. She and her husband bought the property knowing the site was a permitted compost facility. Could the county ask the applicants to conduct a voluntary environmental review? Staff's response was that the county board can require a discretionary environmental assessment worksheet, also known as an EAW. Sorry, I jumped a page. Continued comments from the concerned citizen. The management of the facility has changed. Many of the neighbors are farming and were unable to attend the Planning Commission meeting. The condition of the road has deteriorated over the past 9 years. Due to the potential for pollution, water runoff, and groundwater contamination, she asked for further testing. Odor has been an issue, to the point at one point that it made her youngest child sick. The Township Board did not have enough information to make a recommendation to the Planning Commission. The Sheriff's Office has had to conduct additional patrols on the county road due to unsecured loads and speed. Feedlots are required to have cement containment. Concerns for groundwater and soil contamination. Concerns with the odor that will be generated from the acceptance of grain bin waste or grain bin wash water. The facility is a hazard to the community. She admitted that it has been better recently, but there are still times when it flares up. She's lived near the property for several years, yet the applicants have never stopped to introduce themselves. Staff provided the Planning Commission with information from an email from a neighboring property owner with the following comments and concerns. The submitter communicated with his neighbors in the Lyra Township area. The neighbors still recall pains associated with the compost facility. The submitter and neighbors stand by their request for further environmental review. They were told the environmental review was not necessary when the first permit was reviewed, and once permitted, the project came to a crash as unhealthy and bad for the water. The neighbors believe the proper testing is essential, and the neighbors asked to be present to observe environmental tests. The applicant's engineer addressed the Planning Commission. He stated that it is the applicant's intent to get back to a functional facility. He added that from a water quality perspective, he is confident with the design. He further added that they are working toward adequate odor control. There was no other public comment. The Planning Commission members provided the following comments and questions. They are as follows. Review of the county license annually is a good thing. If there are issues, what options do the neighbors have? And staff's response was that they can contact the Property Environmental Resources staff, and they can also contact their elected officials. Environmental review is controlled by the state. They were interested in learning more about the environmental impacts. Proper management of the facility is critical. Use of the facility will take pressure off the landfill. They asked if the county could ask the applicants to conduct voluntary environmental review, and staff's response was that the county board can require a discretionary environmental assessment worksheet, again known as an EAW. The applicants now have more experience. There is a need for recycling options. It was asked if there was a potential for groundwater contamination. Is there a possibility for water testing? And staff's response was that the contact water pond is tested and must meet MPCA standards prior to land application. And finally, the use is a conditional use in the agricultural district. Following the discussion, by a vote of 4 in favor to 1 opposed, the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation for approval of the request to the County Board based on the findings and conditions prepared by staff. And to address the questions and concerns expressed by the public and members of the Planning Commission, the following findings have been amended. And number 3, it is a standard in the requirements of the conditional use permits that states the proposed use will not degrade the water quality of the county. Staff's prepared finding is that provided the stormwater pond, stormwater system, asphalt pad, and contact water pond function as designed and maintained in accordance with state rules, the proposed use should not degrade the water quality of the county. The 4th standard states that the proposed use will not adversely increase the quantity of water runoff. Staff's prepared finding is that provided the stormwater system is maintained to have the capacity as designed, the proposed use should not adversely increase the quantity of runoff from the site. The 5th standard states that soil conditions are adequate to accommodate the proposed use. Staff's proposed finding is that impervious surface or impervious asphalt pad / pavement was constructed to prevent contamination of the shallow groundwater table. There are areas of the site that are not protected by the impervious pad. Maintenance of the applicant's stormwater plan should address these areas. The proposed use should not negatively impact the soils when the stormwater plan is maintained. In addition, the following conditions have been added to the resolution. The 7th condition, the applicant shall submit a stormwater system maintenance plan by December 31st, 2021. The plans and the revisions shall be submitted annually as part of the solid waste licensing process. And condition number 9, the applicant shall submit the following documents by December 31st, 2022. The first item is a survey or engineering report showing the stormwater system was constructed as designed. And second, a survey or engineering report showing the stormwater system has the capacity as designed. And that second item is due to the potential that the capacity of the system has been reduced due to sedimentation. And the board action is the resolution.
All right, thank you, George. At this time, I will open up the floor for public comment for PC 3521, Gary Fitzsimmons, Kevin Fitzsimmons, David Fitzsimmons, and MFS Recycling LLC. Please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Please keep your comments to approximately 3 minutes, and if you're calling in online, unmute your phone and we will hear your testimony. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Anita Schwantes. I live at 16677 563rd Avenue. Excuse my voice. I'm still really concerned about the odor from this facility. There's been so many times I've wanted to sit on my deck and I can't because of the smell. And I've been hesitant many times to invite people over for a barbecue because are we going to be smelling it and have to come inside? Also, the traffic has really increased. And I know that technically they're supposed to bring stuff in from the south. However, when people come to pick up this product, they often come from the north, and they're not coming slowly. There was one person that I saw over a week time, must have made at least 6 to 8 trips a day coming down our road. So that's a lot of extra traffic in my opinion. And the mesh barrier that's supposed to be around it is in disrepair. So that would need to be addressed. But I can see that this is already going to pass, but I would like to request that all of us in the vicinity get a letter stating all these new approvals that are necessary and the new guidelines so that we can all be informed. There are a lot of people that would have been here except they're busy farming. I know at least a half a dozen people. So the timing of these past 2 meetings, actually the last 3 meetings, has not been very helpful to the community being able to come out because the previous meeting was on July 3rd. Well, that's kind of a busy weekend too, so, or busy time. So I appreciate letting me voice my comments, but I hope that if this does go through that we'll be able to be in touch with somebody easily to voice our concerns or complaints. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. All right, anyone else wishing to comment on PC 3521?
Good morning. My name is Kristen Lawson. My address is 16698 563rd Avenue, Good Thunder. I spoke at the last Planning Commission meeting, voiced many concerns. I am back here again today. After we left last time, I did, feel a little bit better about the fact that this would be reviewed annually. But I still think that there is, I see that there was some things that would be addressed in the meantime, but there is still great concern within the area, especially for the neighborhood. And what I did not realize until afterwards is that we spoke about, there was a lot of different things that were put in place for the township and road maintenance and things like that. Well, we're looking at a half a mile and you're in a different township. So Lyra Township, that's great. I'm glad that they've had all of this stuff in place, but at the same time, I live a mile and a half away and I'm in Rapidan Township. And so I don't know if Rapidan Township has been in communications with Lyra Township due to the increased volume and road conditions because of that. So if there's no extra funding for all these people that are not, quote unquote, taking the authorized path, there's a lot of wear and tear on the Rapidan Township side, which is not necessarily a fun travel anyway, due to the fact of its curves and dips and things like that. I don't know why somebody would opt to take that direction, but if you're coming from Mankato and you're looking for recycled compost for land application, garden application, whichever, I would not apply any of this on my garden. But at the same time, that's the path that they choose. So that's also why some of us, and even Anita as well, she is also Rapidan Township, and there's many others that come past, and we have lots of hog facilities out in that area, and so we have hog trucks, we have feed trucks, we have everything else, and these vehicles are not coming at a slow pace. There's been times where I've actually contacted Blue Earth County Sheriff's Department to report the rate of speed. We have had them in our yard, we have had them at the corner, they have clocked many people, stopped many people, just due to the speed and the unsafe nature in which vehicles are being driven. Over the past years, just to reiterate some of the people that, since not everybody is aware of the situation, I have been in contact with George Leary, Michael Stahlberger, Molly, I'm unsure of her last name, with the county, the Blue Earth County Sheriff's Department, and also the Minnesota PCA on multiple different occasions regarding the smell and the controls that were not in place for this. I think as a county, I know that there's a lot of different things that need to be put into place. As in the last meeting, there was stated that there is no setback requirements for this facility. That, considering the fact that I come from a farming background, and I know that many of you are involved in farming, that is unacceptable. If you look at our feedlots and the setbacks that are put in place for them, they're held to very tight standards regarding smell, regarding their holding facilities as far as manure, and they're allowed to, they have to have samples and things like that too for land application. I think it all needs to be looked at, not only just for this one, but from here forward, because if these continue to come up, we need to have better practices in place from the get-go, so we're not always chasing backwards. Also, I think that we should request, or I shouldn't say we, it would be nice if we could request a voluntary EIS or EAW, just so we have a baseline as far as where things are at now, along with soil and water samples, even without, or like on the outsides of their surrounding pond area, just so then we know if there is any further contamination without on the outside of those. Also, I was thinking about this too, and I thought, you know what? I'm like, if somebody hauls in or out a load of grain or even some other recyclables, lots of places are required to do a sample of each load and hold it for so many days. It's sent for testing. What's to say that we shouldn't be testing this stuff if it's going to be land applied on fields that eventually goes into your soil and your groundwater, even in your garden. People are eating from these gardens too, so we should know what's in those. You know, if something happens, and granted, it's not going to be within their window of holding these samples, but it's also something to look at. I'm just going to stop there because I know I already gave you a lot of information, but there's been a lot of movement in this. I think that I'm not the only one. Obviously, I know I'm not the only one that's got concerns about this. So I think that at minimum, the yearly review of this, but I think that there's other things that need to be addressed regarding, you know, the traffic, the cleanliness, the soil samples, the water samples, and just do what we can to try and protect ourselves and make sure that the facility is operating as it was designed to try and not have an environmental impact.
Thank you, Chris, for your
Thank you.
comments.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to comment? I'll bring it back to the county board, closing the public hearing, and thoughts with the county board.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. You talked about the roads and transportation. Is it both, as we're using the wrong roads, is it picking up the material or dropping off the material as they come in the wrong direction sometimes? Is there a difference?
I will tell you, I was out there last night, Commissioner, and the GPS took me from the gravel road past these two residents' houses, and I wouldn't drive that way if I was driving a truck. We left going to the south, and it was much easier traveling. But, so, I don't know if that answers your question, and I don't know if, do we have something in the plan that they're supposed to come from the south?
The applicants might want to address this further, but in their plan, it states that the incoming loads are to come in from County State Aid Highway 10.
A type of a map saying this is the road you should take. I mean, obviously, we can't block off roads. We can't stop people from driving roads if they want to. We understand that. But if they were given a recommended path to get out, I think most people would. So maybe that's an idea that that could be used. I don't know.
I think something we could keep an eye on as far as the operations go.
Yeah.
Clean?
A couple questions. We do recycling, obviously. Also, would our recycling be taken there also? Blue Earth County's recycling?
No.
Like from the public?
Yep. No, I mean, you know, we recycle a lot of stuff. We truck it.
On a county level?
At a county level, that's what I'm talking about. And would any of that be taken to this facility?
That has not been discussed, to my knowledge.
Commissioner Landcamer, I don't believe that's the plan at all.
Okay, it's one of my questions. Another question is, Mankato has an organics recycling component in their solid waste management. Would any of that be taken to this facility?
And Commissioner, I believe that too might be a question directed to the applicants as far as their sourcing of those materials.
No, I think that's
Please come to the podium and state your name and address. Thank you.
It's being taped.
Thank you.
Gary Fitzsimmons. I'm one of the owners out there, but anyway, back to Kip's statement, you know, the GPS does bring people that way, like the way he came. And once they get there, we tell them, oh, no, you got to go to Buford or to Good Thunder and come in from the south. And anyway, and they all say, yeah, we're not going back that way because of the widening roads and in the wintertime, it's not a good deal. And back to this Mankato Zero Waste thing, see, that product has PFAS, it's a lot of packaging and stuff, and we don't want that, so we will not take Mankato Zero Waste products
Okay.
with packaging.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a good question, I thought.
It is. Well, it'd be nice to know where it's going.
And the local piece.
Other comments?
Sure. You know, we talked earlier in the meeting about solar being good. I think recycling is good as well. Anything that can make us more sustainable, take pressure off the landfill is good. as I've reviewed this needs to meet MPCA standards. I think it's important that, that we have that ability to annually review this to make sure it does. I too, Mr. Chair, have been there and toured it. There's some things, I guess, in life that there are odors. We'll do our best to minimize those at the best, but if we can take care of the traffic concerns and making sure we have the adequate dust control, I think this is a good thing for the county, and I would move approval.
I will second that.
I got a motion and a second. We've had some discussion already, but I am going to ask for any other discussion or final comments.
I'm going to support this because of the annual review, and I think it's really important that we be on top of it as opposed to what's happened in the past. And I think that these gentlemen will do a good job, and that's my expectation. So that's all I have to say.
Okay.
I'd concur with that. Yeah, the annual review helps, and yeah, it seems like things have been corrected from the past, and we should proceed with the continuing.
Mr. Chair, one more thing. And the people who have spoken today, I hope that you'll watch closely too, and planning and zoning is a good call to make. You know George and Michael and Garrett. So if you see there are problems, I think that it's important that you let us know. Okay.
And I think if there's no other comments, I just want to finish up with a couple points that I've learned about this project over the last few days. And it's my understanding that Megan has actually been out there, or Molly has been out there and working on a regular basis. And because this is attached to a solid waste license also, it gets the annual review and it will get more attention than it did when it was just a compost site, from my understanding. And I think that's what gave me the confidence that we got a little more teeth to deal with some day-to-day issues, and we don't have to wait for something else to happen. I think I did see it in this packet. If not this packet, it was on another packet. I think I seen all the Fitzsimmons phone numbers, cell phone numbers, and the manager's phone number, and of course the rural commissioners are always available for comments. But I think they'll do a good job, and I hope they'll do a good job, but I am confident with this yearly review, we will be able to do a lot more when things come up on a short-term basis, instead of bringing it back to planning and zoning and try to deal through the CUP. This is a very difficult decision. Again, it's a service we need in Blue Earth County, and it will be hopefully ran very well. So with that, if there's no other comments, I've got a motion and a second. Hearing no other comments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you everyone for your time. Thank you staff. Thank you for testimony. We appreciate it. And good luck to the Fitzsimmons. Let's just take 1 second here. We've got Phil next. Good morning, Phil.
Hi, Phil.
Good morning, Phil. Gee, here.
Enjoy today, because tomorrow I think it gets cold.
It's going to take a turn.
Yeah.
It is beautiful out there, that's for sure.
Don't tell Kevin.
What?
Don't tell Kevin.
Yeah. They don't want to hear
He's
it.
not done yet.
My kids are
How many
excited.
acres you got left, Kevin?
Too many with rain coming tomorrow.
So good morning, Phil.
Well, good morning to all of you. Thank you for hearing about our Human Services Department, and it's good to see you all. Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I have three action items for your attention. Excuse me. Financial assistance is the category under over all three of them. The biennial service agreement is something that we obviously go through. It's received as a consolidated grant, which means we split it apart. And so there is some complexity to it. The major points in the agreement are under MFIP, Minnesota Family Investment Program, and the Diversionary Work Program. We are instructed to provide the support for work in those two programs, and MRCI is our contractor in that regard. We also take a portion in that first paragraph for emergency assistance for pregnant women and people with minor children. And so that's some of the split out. You'll see in 2021, the amount was $918,726, and for 2022, $925,195, increase of $6,500, approximately less than 1% increase. We do expect flat funding going forward in the way things look now, but one of the complexities here is that there are some mid-cycle bonuses that are handed out at times, and so budgeting and the operating of that can fluctuate to some degree. The contract term is January 1st of 22 through December 31st of 22. Under that, referenced above, is the MRCI contract for employment and training. You'll see that the previous amount was $630,425, and the 22 amount is $640,195, increase of approximately 1.55%. And there was some other money that we had for emergency assistance dollars that went into some of that increase. The term January 1st of 21 through December 31st of 22. That process of emergency assistance dollars, which I think I've informed the board is because of all the incentive money, that some of the EA money, the emergency money, wasn't used because there were all these other sources that people had. So that's some of the skew that we have within our budget right now, which is a relatively good thing, but we want to use it wisely. And then finally, under the SNAP program, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, the same requirement is to provide able-bodied adults with dependents to work. An employment service provider. MRCI, again, is our vendor for this, for all those who receive food assistance. This is a much smaller grant. It previously was $8,900, and the new allocation is $7,700, which is a 14% decrease. Again, I believe some of that skew is in this as far as how things were used and the formulas they used for distribution of this grant. Term of that, October 1st of 21 through September 30th of 22. Those are my action items, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Phil.
I'll move the action items.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second for the action items. Any discussion?
Need
Questions
to
or comments?
verify one thing, for the service agreement, the DHS, that is a 2-year, so it runs through December of 23, correct?
Right, and that is true. We had some complications this round, Commissioner, with those dates because there's sometimes these either bonuses or settlements, but you're correct, it's a 2-year plan.
All right, I just wanted to verify. I thought I heard you say 22, and I just wanted to verify that it was a 2-year.
Right, it is. And then, yes, sometimes we rebudget after the 1-year cycle within a 2-year window. You're right.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Because there were additional dollars for people during the pandemic, we didn't spend as much on SNAP. And so we're being penalized for that, knowing full well that those dollars aren't going to be available anymore.
Right.
It's a sad commentary.
It is, and this whole, concept of what we often refer to as rebasing is a very scary prospect because, as you all know, once you take money out, it's hard to get money back in. So absolutely, Commissioner, I appreciate the comment. I wish there was some magic wand we had with that because I'm concerned that we'll rebase in a way that we're going to need that shortly. A few years, it's going to find its way back to the front burner. Yeah.
All right, other questions? Seeing none, I got a motion and a second for the action items. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, I have a few informational discussion items for us today. The first two having to do with disability services. I do apologize. Year over year, this gets a little convoluted. Some of the math doesn't quite work, so I know commissioners comment about the years and the money and the count here. I'll try to explain to you best I can. The first one's pretty straightforward. The 2020 waiver data, you'll see in the chart that there is an increase pretty much year over year, including this past year, to total served 865 individuals. I do want to break down the acronyms a little bit just so it's not as confusing as it looks. There's several waiver programs we have with different titles that target certain populations, diagnosis, levels of functioning. The developmental disability waiver is the DD column, and then you'll see that the CCB in that chart is represented by the first letter in those remaining three waivers. So CAT, CATI, and BI now. So CCB is a consolidation of those three other waiver programs in those numbers. And then we also have non-waivered services that we provide case management to as well. And there's a breakdown of that I won't go into, of what's all contained in the non-waivered services. I usually do my little speech about waivered programs. To me, the simple way to look at waivered programs is when you go way back to state hospitals and all these different areas. We used to use facilities as our primary method of care, and so if you met nursing home level of care, you went to a facility of some type, if it was mental health or because of functioning in your life due to your age and physical circumstances. That was the criteria. We're waiving that level of care. These are people that would meet that level of care historically, but we're trying to keep them in the community and practice smarter. So that's the term waiver. It helped me understand this years ago, and saying we're waiving that level of care and trying to do things that make a little more sense and hopefully will be efficient into the future as well. There's a lot of notes here. I won't read through all of them for the board, but under the load sizes, we have 13 case managers in the DD area. You'll see our average caseload at 66.54. There are other counties that have high caseloads like we do. We're at the top. 50 to 55 is kind of the target range of what we'd want with some increased quality. But our staff, our troopers, it's been this way for a long time. And one of the important things down in these talking points, I guess I'll just go in order, but the first bullet, we're obviously trying to keep people in their homes. That's my previous comment. Decreasing the hospitalization need and keeping them out of institutions, as I indicated. Second bullet, that people direct their own care. The third bullet, that we connect to the other services that are available so one hand knows what the other hand is doing. Part of our system and our charge and our mission. And we obviously help coordinate those services to all kinds of different providers of care. Let's see, fifth bullet is we serve 24 more clients, but the point I was driving towards is in the last bullet towards the end of that paragraph. On average, the 13 case managers actually had 16 or 17 cases, let's say, turnover. So there's this churn that happens. People pass away, people move, and so it sounds like we only went up 24 cases overall, but in reality, all those case managers had a lot of churn and a lot of case changes, which require new assessments and all of that. It's really hard to capture that in the data, but there's a lot of change that goes on, and those changes take a lot of extra concerted work. So that's the point there. The next graphic is also disability services. Under 65 is the title, 2020 data. This is the one that gets a little messy. So you'll see in the far right column our 2020 compared to prior year's performance, and there was a slight decrease in the initial assessments. Hard to know if that's related to COVID or what, but an increase in the other areas of reassessments, which I'll comment on. And then our overall total also was up slightly. The first paragraph there are also, this is where it starts to get messy, 227 additional assessments that were completed using the paper assessment tool. So Department of Human Service data says that we did 1,400 assessments. our data doesn't align with the state's. That's what we're trying to say. And part of the mix is that when you get over 65, we do the same exact assessment, this min choices assessment that we talk about all the time. That's public health. So over 65 is public health, under 65 is DD. DHS, it's sometimes hard to extrapolate those two numbers, and so things either get skewed in how we report or when we compare our data set to theirs. So the general ballpark, which Lynette is indicating here, gives us an idea and gives the board an idea of our volume and trend lines, which I think are very accurate. The exact precise numbers, some of the math as we get to the breakdowns are off sometimes a little bit.
Mr. Chair? You say legacy and then paper in parentheses assessment tool. Is it on paper?
Yeah, so that's actually on paper, right? Yeah, and we're getting to that one, which I always bang away at, Commissioner. In fact, I'll just skip to it on the very last page, second to the last bullet. You'll see that it's still taking us, the time actual from, again, state data is 9.86 hours, almost 10 hours per assessment. Our data shows from our time reporting more like 12 hours, so somewhere between 10 to 12 hours to do an assessment. And again, you happen to be talking to a psychobabalist that would meet with somebody for an hour and a half and do a full diagnostic assessment. And so it's a lot of time spent. I worry, since they organize this whole thing, that, and then you take that assessment of a child and things change, you take that assessment of our parents and things change. And so I don't know the shelf life of this big investment is very stable. That's just my own critique and opinion of it. One more thing, Commissioners, if you'll indulge me, is just in that second box that breaks down some of the different types of assessment, gets a little more in the weeds. But you'll see the second box has the number 539 reassessments. And then the second bullet underneath that, if you drop down, it says assessor reassessments. This is really our increase of 128 people by relocating to Blue Earth County. So I think it's a very important thing for the board to be aware of, that we're still importing a lot of individuals. It is causing our numbers overall to increase. I think that's a wonderful thing about our vibrant community, but it is a workload issue as well that adds to the caseloads and all the rest of the picture.
Just a comment on that. I have a friend whose child gets DD services, and she moved here because of the DD services here. And she's not unusual.
Right. It's exactly.
It's a compliment and it's a challenge.
It's one of your bullets, actually. It's the one I was just reading as she's saying that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
People are
Absolutely.
relocating to Blue Earth County.
Yes, right. So I think it is a compliment to all the work we do in our community and make it attractive, but yes, it comes with some practical increases in need, there's no doubt. Mr. Chair, my last item was just a brief update, and Kelly did give me some notes. She does a fantastic job of trying to keep some of the information flowing. So this is the most recent bullets. I just have three to share, the big three I'll call it, to share with you for this week. The first one, she talked about the Moderna boosters, which are in the news now, trying to get some of these vaccines approved for the younger population. In this case, 5 to 11 is what's pending. I believe it's still pending. And then also she talked to me about cross-vaccination for boosters. So if these boosters, as they target certain populations for people to get a booster, they're saying you have to match your previous brand of vaccine to get that booster. And the crossover is that they're really trying to say it doesn't matter, it would be a choice that you have, and that the boosters would be effective if you had a Moderna and then you get the Pfizer or something else, that would cross over and be okay medically, but they have to make sure that that's correct. So they're trying to, that's the other one that's kind of pending or in the hopper right now. Public health continues to partner with MSU and also presence at the jail as there's need there. Recently, just to give you a ballpark, that we had a small clinic set up at MSU and had 34 registered, which I think is a good number. And Kelly said that there were 14 at the jail that, especially those that stay a little longer, that were able to vaccinate. So I think it's a good effort. She also just wanted the board to know that our community coordination is continuing to be a priority for us. And so existing, what she's calling connector agencies now, so WellShare, Copal, Open Door, MCC, these are our partners that I think is a big part of this COVID story. We didn't have the horsepower to cover all the need. Obviously, we're not a very big public health entity, but you partner with the clinics and the pharmacies and then all these organizations that reach out in the community, and I think it's been a great story. It's not been easy and it's taken a toll, but I wouldn't redo it. I think we did what we could as we could, and I'm very proud to be associated with that heavy lifting from them. And you might be aware the hospitals are full locally, but Kelly did say it's a combination of COVID and non-COVID. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I think we're all aware of that, different viruses out there right now. So hospitals are full, and that's a stretch, but for a lot of different reasons, actually, not just COVID.
Any questions for Phil?
Great report. Thank you. Good report, yes.
Yet another comment. In the trip the other day, they were talking about mental health facilities, and they talked about Horizon Homes and how great it is we have it, but how the needs that are just going to get bigger and bigger. So I think that's something that we have to keep on our radar. All the articles on mental health say it's going to just come crashing.
Right.
But it was a good article, I thought.
I agree. I did read that, and I know there's a lot of talk and spotlight on mental health. The juvie side too, the kids side, I would get a plug in for as well. I know near and dear to your heart as well, but you look at our continuum of care on the adult side in the crisis center, and we just really don't have anything for kids. And so regionally, not just in our county, but we were talking about that on Friday about just, is there something we could do, and maybe having a different county host. So something like that where we could have a regional crisis center of sorts. So, yeah. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Good to see you all. Thank
Good
you.
to see you. You sound a little.
I do. I've had this thing and I feel okay. It feels like sleep deprivation is what I think it is. So,
Only 2 years of it, right?
Right, exactly. Right. That's it.
Well, tell your staff to keep up the good job, and we appreciate all their work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
all. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Phil.
All right, we'll move on to some drainage issues.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah. A long list, but it shouldn't take long. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning. How's everyone?
Good.
Good.
Looks like I'm the first one out of the gate with the setting the hearing for County Ditch 5.
Correct.
County Ditch 5 is a public drainage system located in Meadow and Danville Township. We did receive a repair petition back in March-ish of 2019. The actual construction for this project was done last year, spring, summerish of 2020. So we are here before the Drainage Authority requesting the hearing date be set for the acceptance hearing of this contracted repair for County Ditch 5. The date of November 2nd, 2021 at 9 a.m. is requested.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second for the hearing date. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. County Ditch 52 is the next one I got on my list.
Yep, County Ditch 52, the Blue Earth County Ditch 52 is in sections 16, 17, 20, 21, 28, 29, 32, and 33 of Sterling Township in Blue Earth County. Its watershed is approximately 1,200 acres. We received a petition for improvement on August 17, 2020. On April 13, 2021, the Blue Earth Drainage Authority appointed Charles J. Brandel to make a detailed survey report. On July 21st, 2021, Mr. Brandel submitted his detailed survey report to the Property Environmental Resources Department. And today's meeting, the Blue Earth County Drainage Authority, are requesting that the Drainage Authority set a hearing date for the engineer detailed survey report on the improvement of County Ditch 52 for November 23rd, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Got a first and a second. for the hearing date for November 23rd of 2021 for County Ditch 52. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Next one is County Ditch 86. This is for the improvement of branch 2 and 3. County Ditch 86 was first established in 1956 and is in Decory and Beaufort Townships. On July 2nd, 2021, a petition was received for the improvement of County Ditch 86. On January 22nd of 2021, the Drainage Authority appointed Charles Brandel to prepare a preliminary survey report for the improvement of branch 2 and 3. On September 15th, 2021, Mr. Brandel submitted the preliminary survey report to the Property and Environmental Resources Department. At today's meeting, we're requesting the County Drainage Authority. We are requesting the Drainage Authority approve the findings in order, setting the hearing date for November 23rd, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Got a motion and a second for County Ditch 86. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. County Ditch 57 repair.
Yep, I have a one quick repair report for ditch 57, which is located down by Mapleton, as many may know. We did approve a repair report earlier this year for cleaning that sediment pond that's near town there. We are also looking to include cleaning portions of the open ditch now. I did get a estimate from Groundworks of roughly $46,575 for this work, hopefully to be done yet this year.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the repair?
So moved.
Got
Second.
a first and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor for the County Ditch 57 repair, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. That's all I got on my list, gentlemen.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, move down to Bob, administrative.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, the first item is the county board minutes for October 5th.
Move approval.
Second.
Got a first and a second for the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Next are the bills for the 2 weeks indicated.
Move the bills.
Second.
Got a first and a second for the bills. Any discussion, questions, or comments that haven't been answered? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 9 in your packet is the Human Resources Department agenda. We just have informational items for the board today. We have filled a Property and Environmental Resources Specialist, a part-time position. And we've received a couple of resignations of correctional officers in the jail, and so we've initiated recruitment to refill those positions. We also received a resignation of an assistant county attorney and initiated recruitment to refill that position. And then a resignation of a human service supervisor overseeing the regional mental health initiative, and so we've initiated recruitment to refill that position. Be happy to answer any questions the board might have on those items.
Any questions or comments? All right, we'll move on.
Item number 10 in your packet then is the financial status report for September 30th. We're 3/4 of the way through our fiscal year. You'll see our total revenues are at 94 million and expenses at just under 83 million at this point in the year. Obviously, a couple big items, the ARP funds as well as some turnback funds have elevated our revenue a little higher than expected at this point in the year. You know, probably the bad news on our revenue side is that interest on investments, we're barely made any with the market change and with the return on the investment, so we will probably fall short of our target there. On the upside, our transportation sales tax is far exceeding what we had budgeted for this year. We did reduce our annual budget in that line
Last year, in the middle of COVID, we anticipated it might have some economic impacts that haven't been seen, so we're fortunate that we're making it up some there. On the expense side, pretty much everything's running as expected. You see the percentages on a number of those categories very in line with our 3/4 of the way through the year. The debt service, those are kind of one-time annual payments that'll be coming up here in the next couple of months to bring that particular line up. But overall, the year is looking very positive at this point. The enterprise fund, being the landfill, you'll see total revenues at $3 million compared to expenses of $1.5. So again, without those large land improvements and machinery costs, the landfill is putting some money into reserves at this point for when cell development or large equipment purchases are needed. The second page then has cash and investment balances. You'll see towards the top of the page, the total available funds are just under $69 million. Our 6-month operating needs are at $55 million. Our total funds then a little further down the page sit at $129 million, up from prior years at this point. But again, some of that's related to some of those extra funds that the federal government have provided to the county with longer time frames to utilize those funds. So I'd be happy to answer any questions more everybody have on the financial status report.
Any questions or comments? Much easier to discuss when you have money than when you don't. Not a whole lot of questions when you have enough money to buy.
Things are working well.
Yeah.
People are usually fairly comfortable.
All right. Other than committee reports, Bob, do you have anything else for us today?
That's all I had, Mr. Chair.
All right. Well, let's move on to committee reports. And Kevin, I think I'll start with you today.
All right, mine will be somewhat brief. Today is day number 24 for harvest, so that's going well since our October 5th board meeting. Really only one official capacity, and that was on October 7th, was Soil, Water, and Conservation District meeting. So I attended that, and certainly discussions on some of the things that have already been talked about today, whether it was MFS or others. Upcoming, I'm planning on attending the Highway 60 open house tomorrow if it's raining. And then we have both with sewer, one watershed, one plan meeting coming up next week, and the NACO Ag and Rural Committee meetings. That ends my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Kevin. Mark.
Okay, Mr. Chair, it's October 6th. We did have our department heads meeting. Made that. Then Friday, October 8th, AMC Board of Directors meeting. I caught a big part of it virtually. And of course, our STEAM members, Colleen and Vance, were on that too. You'd like the word esteemed, I hope. Yeah.
Esteemed.
I did.
And then I did attend
right
the...
right here.
So it should. Denny Kemp, the visitation I had on Friday the 8th. I thought, and I went to that. And October, yeah, that was kind of weak because then I did, along with several others like Colleen, I did go to the Lynn Barnes, the funeral service on Saturday the 9th. And then this last the 13th, we had a RETA staff meeting at Woodward County. I was a host, and I did gave the report and welcomed everybody to that meeting. And I do have, yep. Then Friday, this last Friday, 15th, did have our All Seasons Arena meeting, and we got a new memorandum understanding with the city and our ASA staff, and kind of they'll be doing more of the. They know ice, and so they'll be doing more of the running of the ice in conjunction with at the Mankato Arena too, or Civic Center. So I think it's a good agreement, and things are moving forward. And we'll see. There's always going to be demand for the for ice, so that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mark. Clean.
Okay, on the 5th, I spoke to Shane Boyer's class on being a Blue Earth County Commissioner and Ag and Economic Development. Interesting class, and they actually asked questions. So it was good. I also had the NACO membership committee that day, and then I went to Greater Mankato Growth after hours, which was at the Ford dealership. It's under new ownership now, so was an interesting to hear more about why they did it, how they did it, and that kind of stuff. On the 6th, there was the AMC coffee where we just talk about issues that are impacting us. Couple things, you can't use the ARP money on border-to-border grants for broadband. So there's grave concerns about that because it cuts out a lot of counties. And so they're hoping to put legislation in to get that changed. There's also been some talk, some counties are looking at putting in on a surcharge for their employees who aren't vaccinated because it's a business decision. It costs us money when they get sick because they didn't get vaccinated. We also had department heads that day, which most of us were at. On the 8th, I had the AMC board meeting along with Mark and Vance. And later that day, I'm part of a group that has a partnership with Germany from the University of Minnesota to talk about renewable energy. Sabrine Engel and Professor Christopher Welter, who is from Germany, were in town, did a bike tour and then some presentations at Bridge Plaza to talk about what they're doing in Germany, what can we learn from them, and how do we partner. A group went, Representative Dave Senjum has been the lead, started this with the University of Minnesota, and so they've always had a partnership with cities. They've now included counties, and we're one of them. Danny Kemp and Lynn Barnes, what else can you say? On Saturday, from the 11th through the 15th, Vance and I were at the NACO Rural Action Caucus and Western Interstate Region. On Tuesday, we flew on Monday. On Tuesday, we toured energy issues for WIR. They talked a lot about oil and gas and coal. We saw some interesting things, be it where they're drilling for oil or explaining to us how important coal was. And obviously gas is another one that's really critical for them. We started at 6:30 in the morning and got home at 10:30. It was a long day on a bus. But we also got to go up in the mountains and do a little ATV. So that was fun. That was a highlight of the day. Then we started the conference the next day, and a lot of Western issues, but also broadband, such a huge one. And Terrell Clark from Stearns County actually facilitated the broadband discussion. So that was really good. There were federal agencies that talked to us, how do we power our economies and the difference in economies between Western states and states like us, and then you've got the East. We also heard a lot about the 30-30, where the administration wants to see 30% public lands, and the WIR doesn't like that because it's probably going to happen in their area. So it's an issue that you'll probably see. Waters of the U.S. also came up. So those will be some issues that we'll be dealing with WIR and probably other NACO things. So It was a good conference, and I think we learned a lot. And Vance is the vice chair of RAC, so he did a great job. And do you want to talk about Dominion Energy, or I can? It's all about using feedlots to capture the methane. So some discussion about that. You need a lot of pigs, though.
Yeah.
You need 150.
We have a lot of pigs in
Well,
Bernicke County.
but you've got to pipe it. So
Yeah.
150,000 to 200,000 in order to make it low. But they're going to talk to Vance about it. So it's Dominion Power, Dominion Energy.
Contact information.
Yep. And diversity and inclusion, that was a part of it. Federal infrastructure, what's happening with the infrastructure bill, what's happening with that stuff. And this is interesting. I'm going to share it with Ryan. A gentleman who is a county commissioner from Oklahoma, he does this fast cast rural bridges, and where they can do that in a day, as opposed to having the road stopped for a long time. So that sounds interesting. Just need more information on it. So that's a little bit about NACO and RAC. On the board meeting, we're also looking at a new card, which is a Live Healthy RX, that would help with health and dental discounts. So there could be people in our community who could really benefit from that. Something that they're going to be rolling out. And then yesterday, Saturday was the big day because Shirley Peoples' retirement party, which is really fun. Nice job, Mark. And then on the 17th, yesterday, I had a thing with Council of State Governments to talk about this legislation on rural prosperity. And there's some money in the reconciliation bill. I don't know what'll happen with it, and I've got a few concerns about it too. And that's all I have, sir. That was longer than I thought.
It helped me out a lot.
I know I did.
Intergov you were on.
Oh, I forgot about Intergov. 6 o'clock in the morning. And I knew I'd be ready for the day too.
6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yeah, so I
We started at 7 for that, so she was out.
I was an hour earlier. I thought it was a really
That's
good
right.
conversation because it was about what the city's doing with their budget, and we all seem to kind of be aligned. Little discussion on redistricting, ARP. So it's always good to have those conversations just to see where everybody is. So
Thank you, Clayton.
thank you.
Vance.
All right, well, I'm not going to reiterate everything that Colleen said, so mine will be shorter. I had, starting on the 5th of October, I had the NACO monthly membership meeting. On the 6th, we had our department head meeting. On the 7th, I had a library board meeting. I had the AMC board meeting on the 8th. Had Commissioner Kemp's funeral on the 9th. One of the nicest funerals that I've been, very, very positive stuff that came out. How awesome of a person he was. Again, we had October 11th through the 15th, Commissioner Landcamer and myself went out to Salt Lake City. It really was a great meeting just to get information on how to run the counties. When she mentioned the fast cast, I have sent that information for that to our county engineer, Mr. Ryan Tilges. You can look it up on YouTube and actually see about 4 different movies on how they do this and how they actually, it may be more expensive for the actual product, but it only takes a day to put up. And that's the amazing part of this. I mean, you know, when you figure so much of your cost for something like that is manpower, and also cutting down, you know, taking a road out for a month to try to get a new bridge put in, that's amazing, just an amazing thing. So I'm sure that'll be looked at. Again, went to Shirley's retirement, 47 years at MSU. That's quite an accomplishment. And then I had Transportation Alliance Ledge meeting yesterday. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Vance. Other things that were already mentioned, I just have a few items. Planning and zoning, which we already all seen that this morning, but we did have a full schedule that night. I think we did get out of here by, I think it was 10 o'clock though we got done, which was pretty good because they had a Board of Adjustment meeting first and they went into that. And everything kind of moved along pretty well. Clean kind of talked about intergov already. We had great discussion about union contracts and kind of what the budget and stuff's doing. And yesterday we had an MVAC E&P meeting and just kind of the run-of-the-mill things that we have to approve on our off-month meeting, a lot of Head Start stuff. They are having some challenges at Head Start because it's a mandatory vaccination, and they don't think they'll be able to get everybody vaccinated because they won't want to be. So if they don't get vaccinated, they won't have a job there, because if you're working with the kids, you can't. You have to be vaccinated, and everybody, they basically said even in admin, the people work with the kids. So we could have a shortage of people, which we already had a shortage of trying to find those teachers anyway. So that's going to be a challenge for Chris and her staff in the next few months. And then a lot of questions on the P&Z stuff that was coming up, and ditch issues. I would imagine Kevin's seen and heard several of them too, as the crops are getting pulled out. So, but Craig and Ryan have been doing a good job staying ahead of the stuff for me. So that is the end of my report. So we're adjourning today, or?
Yes.
All right.
We'll do adjourn.
But what time are we starting the 11?
I think we had planned on 11.
Okay. We'll have a little break then. All right.
Can we start earlier?
Can we start earlier?
Want to start a little earlier? Quarter to, if
Well,
they're
I
here.
suppose they might not be here.
It depends on when the consultant is available, but if everyone's here, we can
We'll start
certainly.
as soon as the consultant shows up.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of all
As
start,
in?
take 15 minutes, make a few calls, and we'll start lingering around there about, in the fireplace room, correct?
That's correct.
All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We adjourn. Thank you everyone for your time.
So as my 30-year-old Andy Papp says, we're burning daylight.